Over the last few days, I've been alluding to this particular video. Initially, it was going to be a tier list, and after a little bit of soul searching, I thought by myself, you know what, doing a tier list for something that is created by people with no monetary gain is not necessarily the coolest thing in the world, and you should always support your mod creators, because even the most terrible of mods still has value to add to the game, and putting it in a tier list would not be fair to them. Instead, today we're going to be looking at 9 whole mods that make the game more appetizing, and I personally feel better. These are definitely mods that I would install every single time and use during every single playthrough. Like I said, there is 9 of them, so let's dive right into them. Let's go with the visuals ones first, and the first one is Quadrants Fix. Now, Quadrants Fix adds this little area around the map, these circles here, where the galaxy is basically subdivided in the core, the inner ring, and the mid-ring, as well as the outer ring, which is out here. So what does it do? Absolutely nothing. It's purely a visual mod that makes the galaxy look better from a sci-fi standpoint. Having to look at your galaxy and basically think by yourself, oh yeah, this is how I would set the topography of my galaxy for illustration purposes. This is the way they go. So there you have it, the Quadrants Fixed. Then on top of that, we have the Pinwheel Galaxy mod, which is also one that you're looking at right now. Now what it does is it adds a brand new texture for the galaxy itself, and it's absolutely gorgeous. As you can see, the galaxy texture has changed and looks better on a larger scale, and you can get a normal version of this, but also a more purple variant of it, which is rather nice. Then we have to move on to light borders. Now, as you can see here, the borders have changed a little bit, where they are lighter, and that basically means that the game looks a little bit nicer, which I feel is a big one in terms of visual aspects. Then we have a mod that is a little bit more impactful in terms of visuals, but also in terms of gameplay, and that is Real Space 3.6. This is the 3rd iteration of Real Space that has been in development for quite some time, and continuous updates are dropping as well. I would like to, however, give you guys a heads up. The list of this mods is not actually compatible with the extension of Real Space, which is Color of the Deep. So please be aware of that. I have not included it in this particular version of the mod list. Essentially, what this here mod does is it adds all sorts of new systems that are incredibly pretty and good to look at, but not on top of that, they also have their own modifiers. So if you, for instance, go over here into a system that is a little bit different, like this one over here, as you can see, this system has a environmental hazard, which reduces ship hull points by 15%, which adds all sorts of strategic things, like this is a class W SAR. What else do we have here? We've got the joys of Wolf-Rayet stars. This is it's a class D actually, but it has all of these here nebulae and gas clouds attached to it. Now, a lot of this stuff is already in the game itself, and a lot of this, oh, there you have one of them. In the 2.7 update, a lot of content has been added to make the galaxy prettier, but in extension of that, Real Space really adds a lot of additional flavor within the galaxy, such as this luminous blue variable that's sitting out over here. And there's a couple of even better ones. Let's see if I can find one on the galaxy map. All right, now I'm looking for something very, very specific. Let's see, where are you? I think this is a good example here. This is a proto-stellar system with a accretion disk that is ready to generate new planets, and that by itself adds so much more potential RP flavor. What does a system mean to you as an empire? What can you do with it in the long term? Do you want to capture it? Do you want to basically use it as a area for strategic defense, etc., especially with all the new modifiers being thrown into the mix? Real Space really makes the game so much better from a visual aspect, and I really recommend this one to be installed pretty much at all times. I think I found a Nova system over here. It looks like one. If I can actually get into it. There we go. Yes, there you have it. A nice little nova system here, where a star is being consumed by what appears to be a black hole. So there you have it. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, having all of these systems is a great way to build your story within the galaxy. Even having your own mod that uses real space and adds new anomalies on top of it is a real boon. Because, you know, you always want to have more content in the game, right? And that's something that I am personally a really big fan of. Then for the last visual mod, we have the machine shipset. The machine shipset is something that I have already talked about at length in a different video as well, at least in the past, and I highly recommend for you to download this one. This is a top-of-the-line shipset that could be pretty much be installed. Well, it could be part of the vanilla game if I was in charge of development, because it basically takes the automated dreadnought from Leviathans and turns it into a full shipset that is high quality, and on top of that, it does something what no vanilla shipset does. It adjusts the mega structures as well, so every single item that you build, whether or not it's a ring world or a ship or a Dyson sphere or any of the other structures in the game, it has its own model and animations, and that is really taking another step up in terms of quality, and is really something that I wish that the developers themselves would do themselves. Then we get to the quality of life mods, and that means that I need to go back into one of my own empires over here, and the first one is, of course, Tiny Outliner. How could we forget about Tiny Outliner over here? Tiny Outliner is basically an updated version of the vanilla Outliner that basically streamlines the whole experience and makes everything a bit more compact and easier to see. The vanilla one serves its functions, but Tiny Outliner is pretty much the #1 thing that I would always run, even if I was forced to forego of some of the other mods, whether or not they were no longer compatible or not. But yeah, Tiny Outliner, really, download it. Download it now, because it is so good. You will adjust yourselves very quickly to it, because it is just so amazing. Then I want to go into 2 special mods, and I will not be showing any footage of these mods, because just showing them would be spoiler territory to begin with. What are these mods? This is More Events mods and Dynamic Political Events. Both of these mods add so much flavor to the game, I cannot even, wow, begin to summarize how amazing it is. So what does it do? So More Events mods, as it already implies, adds more events. And that right there is something that everybody would want. The real reason why I list Distant Stars as one of the best expansions to come out for the game is that it adds more events. That's literally it. With More Events mods, however, it adds even more. It adds dozens of new events, including a potential new final crisis that can pop up, which I think is really cool. Little pockets of space that are out there, new planets to be explored, new ancient species that can pop up, and all of these are out there. And that's just something that I think is just as a general overview of the type of anomalies that it adds. A new asteroid computer, catacombs, new black holes, lost FTL prototypes, toxic worlds, a giant tank, a whole bunch of different ones, such as the Hidden Tundra, a planet that appears not to be it. And there's a whole bunch more of generic events added on top of that. And finally, More Events also adds a new origin quest, which is called Extinct Abductors. A mysterious find reveals knowledge about your species' distance past and possible future. So yeah, there you have it. More Events mod, absolutely. Download it now. Like, seriously, download it now. What are you doing? Subscribe to it. There's a link down in the description below to illustrate it. Then there is Dynamic Political Event mod. Then there is Dynamic Political Events. Dynamic Political Events is one of the things that I really want to see in Stellaris at some point on an official level. Because the one thing that I really think is a really bad thing about the game right now is that any empire you have is effectively an empire of hats. And what I mean by that is they always wear the same hat. Either you are a technocrat, or you are authoritarianism, or anything like that. This particular mod, however, adds flavor. and basically make sure that stuff happens in your empire. Allow me to give you a couple of examples that can happen there. There could be a military coup within your empire. There could be a Luddite movement within your empire. There could be a spiritualist mission from another empire towards you. There could be a populace begging for war because of a border incident. We could have local monarchies on a planet, which is really cool because basically what happens is the local population says that, hey, this guy is, or this girl is really awesome. We would like to install them as our local monarch. And it adds all sorts of flavor and events. Then there is the interspecies marriage thing, which is kind of made defunct by Xeno compatibility, but still it's a cool event to have because it adds flavor, especially during the mid-game, not having anything happening on your planets to make every single one of them distinct. Let's say, for instance, if you live in New York City, your culture is going to be different than from, say, Los Angeles, even though it's in the same country. Every single planet having their own personality really adds so much flavor and potential for RP, which I think is extremely good. But yeah, dynamic political events is amazing, and you should totally go and grab this. This is one of the ones that I always have installed. Why do I have it always installed? Well, because of Xeno's sex scandals. That's why, because yes, that is a thing. And of course, we can have ruler cults as well, which is rather cool. And that wraps up this list here of must-have mods that you should play with all the time. And once again, I cannot recommend these mods high enough because they just, every single one of them just adds so much additional flavor, but also visuals that I really, really like the game to have. Sure, the 2.7 update added a bunch of new cool visuals, but for instance, Real Space really blows that out of the water. More events mod, dynamic political events really add that additional layer of intrigue that I've really been yearning for within the game. Quadrant Fixed and Pinwheel Galaxy, as well as Light Borders, they're just there to make the game look better, in my personal opinion, and all of these could just be ported straight into the main game, and I would have no problem with that. I would buy an update that would have all of these in it, just off the get-go. Just slap it for 15 bucks, just do it. I'd buy it, no problem. If you want to go and try this out, because you don't have to buy it, the links for these mods are down in the description below. Go and collect them all, because they are totally worth your while. I want to thank my patrons for making this video possible, but I also want to thank the modders out there for making all of these mods possible. If it wasn't for you, and of course people like yourself, this community would not be where it is today. Your mods is what makes this community flourish and allows people infinite replayability. Even if your mod is not on this list, well, maybe we will cover it sometime in the future, because not every mod is a must-install every single time, I'm afraid. So, looking at you there, Gigastructures, I love you, but I'm not going to play you every single time. We're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take good care of yourselves and, as always, each other.